Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, insanely enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. This is live stream 1052. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then I will usually pontificate on some topic related to the hobby, which I shall be doing tonight. In fact, I'll be discussing some tabletop role-playing games that I feel are perfect for ongoing one-on-one role-playing sessions. So I am not talking about just one-shot, kind of like standalone adventures or games for two players that kind of fall under the terminology of like storytelling games, things like that. No, we are going to talk about role-playing games and role-playing games that are really well suited for only two players, maybe a game master and player, or maybe two players playing cooperatively. But of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, because this is a live stream, there is chat available. You must be a subscriber for at least an hour in order to take part. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in, and I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Kathy Evans, followed by our good friend, the Madman. Yes, the Madman is with us. He is one of our chat moderators. Semper Buffo, Wallona's Cave, Roger Perdome, and Tesco Love are also rounding out chat, as is Tony Urquides, who jumped the gun. If you say something in chat before the show starts, you're not considered first out the gate. It's like a gate violation. What is it in horse racing when... do they call, is it jumping the gate? I always forget. But it's like, oh, disqualified, came out the gate early. Chuck Terrell, Autonomous Weapons System, who I believe might be a first-time visitor with us in chat tonight, and GameCat are also hanging out with us. So welcome, everybody. Let's jump on into the news because there are two new epic encounters which are slated to arrive from Steamforged Games later this month. And here's what I know. First of all, we've got Palace of the Drow Queen. Wrecking devastation wherever they tread, the Drow are driven by a seething hatred for the surface world and will stop at nothing to fulfill their queen's desires. Inside this 5e-compatible warband box is everything a game master needs to exact the fury of the Drow on their players. Can you outlast the Drow's deadly attacks? Use this set as a standalone encounter or drop it into any fantasy role-playing campaign. What are you going to find in this box? Well, there are 18 finely detailed miniatures, one double-sided illustrated battle map, and an adventure booklet, plus all the tokens you might need to play. This is going to carry an MSRP of $54.99. Next, we have Lair of the Drider. Concealed between worlds, the twisted and evil Drider hides in the shadows, preying upon the unwary. Knowing a deadly monster with an insatiable appetite for adventurers lurks nearby, do you have the nerve to enter its lair? Bursting to be unleashed, this 5e-compatible Epic Encounters Boss Box contains all the tools a Game Master needs to wreak havoc in your next fantasy role-playing campaign. Inside this box, you are going to find an intimidating 100mm Drider miniature. Once again, you'll find another double-sided illustrated battle map and adventure booklet, plus more tokens. This will carry an MSRP of $49.99. Both of these are going to arrive in stores. Did I say coming later this month? I think it's actually early next month. I think it's either last week of May, first week of June is when this is slated to arrive. You may have seen me share some coverage of previous Epic Encounters releases. Gotta say, the miniatures are really nicely done. And if you think about it, you get 18 in the one box, the Palace of the Drow Queen, including, it looks like 2 or 3 mounted figures, which are a little bit larger. Right there, like so. You're seeing them right now. I think there's 2 or 3 of those. So really, 18 miniatures, $54.99, that's a pretty rocking deal. Now, with the Drider, those minis tend to be pretty damn big. So it's 100mm. So it's pretty much 3 times the height of a standard miniature, gaming miniature. So pretty nice. Pretty nice. W. Forge is with us in chat saying, thank you for saying drow the way I've been saying it for 40 years. That is how I've always known it to be said, was drow. I've never heard anybody say dro, anything like that. In fact, isn't it pronounced that way in the audiobooks from Bob Salvador, right? His Drist stories, aren't they always referred to as the drow in that? No. 245 Trioxin and Nero's Fiddle are hanging with the gang, and I would not be shocked if the talented and lovely Miss Sarah D, don't I normally say lovely and talented? That just didn't come out right. I'm going to take a guess Sarah D is hanging out, lurking in the shadows. Yes. She's got that band hammer ready. She's just sitting there going, oh, somebody step out of line. Don't hear Katie says, oh, no, shoot, always too quick on the draw. So I have to say that thankfully, lately, the chat is a little bit different. Because it used to be, I would put in my little opener, right? So it's like, oh, happy Tuesday, gang. Stay tuned. I'll be talking about blah, 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 and the tabletop gaming news. And if someone entered chat and entered something, typed something in and entered it, it would make that disappear. And that happened a few times where I'd be like, I got to type it in real quick. But it doesn't do that anymore. Sarah D says, wait, there are other ways to pronounce drow? W. Forge says, some say it's dro, rhyming with low. How do you know it's not low? See, I don't buy that. I don't believe that. Because Bob Salvatore, Salvatore, is that how it's pronounced? Has been writing the Drist novels for how many years? How many years have those audiobooks come out? In fact, they just released, within the past 10 years, updated versions of those, and it's always pronounced drow. So I don't buy into it being Dro. I do not. Womp, womp, womp. Yet once again, certain elements in the hobby just trying to rewrite things that don't exist. All right. I actually have another miniatures item here as Lord Koss 2000 rocks on in. Hitting stores next week is the soft cover of Frostgrave Mortal Enemies from Osprey Games. And here's the latest. Enhance your Frostgrave campaigns with recurring villains that grow more powerful over time and give your wizard somewhere to hide with expanded rules for bases. On the violent and deadly streets of the frozen city, feuds and vendettas are commonplace. Wizards may start out focused on discovery and exploration, fighting when necessary for survival or to win possession of some long-lost artifact or grimoire. But such battles can swiftly become intensely personal. Competitors become adversaries, and as the cycle of violence continues, some wizards lose sight of their original goals and focus their efforts on the elimination of their hated foes, their mortal enemies. This supplement for Frostgrave Fantasy War Games in the Frozen City presents rules for creating recurring villains in both competitive and solo campaigns. These characters are unique individuals who return over the course of a campaign to plague the player's wizards, gaining experience, recruiting allies, and becoming more deadly with each appearance. Against such threats, a wizard's base becomes as much hideout as headquarters, and an expanded range of options for enhancing bases is provided, as are rules for defending your own and attacking those of your rivals. The 96-page softcover will carry an MSRP of $35. When it lands in stores on May 15th, you can grab the PDF right now over at Drive-Thru RPG for $25. I would like to get into Frostgrave. I don't have, I take that back. I think Osprey Games sent me one of the supplements just out of the blue. And I had kind of pointed out to them that it's like, I really don't have anything to use this with. I haven't reviewed anything as far as Frostgrave. It would look kind of silly, me trying to review it. But I like skirmish level miniatures games. And I think this is kind of cool because as far as I understand, once again, I have not played Frostgrave. It's pretty popular. Osprey Games keeps releasing supplements for it, so somebody's buying them. And you don't need tons and tons of miniatures because I think with your wizard and their crew, probably looking at maybe 10 figures on a side. And then, of course, toss in some kind of neutral monsters or stuff like that. So pretty nice. Pretty cool. So once again, Mortal Enemies for Frostgrave is going to arrive on May 15th. Veteran Grabelox is popping on in, says, don't give a damn how Lovecraft says Cthulhu. Don't give a damn how some drow writer says drow. That is, unless Veteran doesn't like the way I said Cthulhu. The way I sum it up is I will pronounce Cthulhu the same way Neil Gaiman, Peter Straub, and Ramsey Campbell all pronounce Cthulhu. So what is it? ST or SJ or whatever, Toshi, the Lovecraft expert, the HP Lovecraft expert, has said, yes, it's pronounced. It's not supposed to be something that the human tongue can actually pronounce. But still, every once in a while, I will get someone commenting, I can tell you're an idiot because of the way you pronounce Cthulhu. And it's like, okay, well, I guess Neil Gaiman, Peter Straub, Ramsey Campbell, and innumerable other horror writers who are extremely familiar with H.P. Lovecraft are also idiots. Okay, sure thing. It's amazing how people crawl out of the woodwork online, and they're the all-time expert of all things, whatever. Chris Lundgren is hanging out with us tonight. Good to see you, Chris. All right, let's move on into some role-playing game news because there were two big announcements today. Let's talk about the first one. Because Free League Publishing has revealed that the first adventure campaign for Dragonbane is now available for pre-order. I've got the scoop on Path of Glory. Coming to the legendary Dead Forest in search of treasure, glory, and a solution to the ancient curse laying waste to the forest, the adventurers soon find themselves embroiled in an epic conflict, reaching back to the very foundations of the world. The quest will take the adventurers through the depths of the forest, under the mountain, and into a strange new land where the fate of the world will be determined. Path of Glory was the first major adventure campaign for the original Swedish edition of the Dragonbane role-playing game, Drakar Akademilar, released in 3 installments between 1985 and 86. Wow, that's going back a while, everybody. These include The Dead Forest, Gates of Power, and Heart of Darkness. This new edition, reimagined and updated by Free League, and original author Roger Undhagen, collects the trilogy in a single volume. This full-color hardback edition features completely new illustrations by David Brasgala and new cover art by Johan Egerkrans. The rules are fully updated to the latest edition of Dragonbane, and the book includes a large double-sided map painted by Francesca Berald. Path of Glory is now available for pre-order in a standard edition and a collector's edition, which has a faux leather cover and gold foil printing. The pre-order gives early access to the complete PDF of the book in June, months ahead of the retail release planned for this fall. To celebrate the launch of the Path of Glory pre-order, the box set for Dragonbane's core rules is now 20% off in the Free League web shop for the next week. You can pre-order the standard edition for $41.90 exchange rate. Or you can get the collector's edition for $73.30, which both include the PDF, which is expected to be ready in June. Now, I do understand there are some outlets out there that have shared this news. They are saying that these hardcover books are going to be out in June. That is not the case. It is expected for the fall. Now, I would not be shocked if Free League Publishing does have some copies available at Gen Con in August, because we tend to see that. We'll see stuff that's coming out like in September to retail. We'll get a bit of a release at Gen Con, so it is possible that we'll see some copies there. Maybe I'll even get to see one. Ooh. But the actual hardcovers are not coming out in June. Sorry, I don't know where some of these outlets decided to run with that, outside the fact that the PDF is going to be ready in June. So, of course, when that arrives, I'm going to take a guess. Probably figure it's going to be $19.99 over at Drive-Thru RPG. And, of course, when it hits in PDF, I will let you know. But very nice. It is pretty wild that Free League Publishing has 3 fantasy role-playing games. Kind of interesting, isn't it? You got some, well, actually we could say 4, because we have Symborum and then we have Runes of Symborum. Same setting, same storyline, same adventures, 2 different systems. One's 5e for Ruins, and the other is the Year 1 engine. So we've got that. We have Forbidden Lands, which I really liked. And every once in a while, we still see something come out for it. So it is still being supported. And then, of course, Dragonbane, which I liked quite a bit. I like quite a lot. So I am looking forward to checking this out. And I find it kind of interesting that we are going to get an adventure campaign that is nearly 40 years old. I was like, wow, pretty sweet. So there is some discussion right now about various different miniatures games. So Nero's Fiddle says Frostgrave is hands down their favorite miniatures game. They're also a huge fan of Gaslands. Yes, Gaslands is kind of what Car Wars would be as a miniatures game, a playable miniatures game where you actually will come to a conclusion within a few hours, unlike Car Wars, which when Car Wars first came out, we played the hell out of Car Wars. And I think we spent way, way more time building vehicles than we did playing. I think that's probably the case with most people. But then as more and more supplements came out, it just got to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, there's just too much to this game. And I always had to laugh because you'd play for like 4 hours and the actual time that had passed in the game world would only be like 30 seconds. It's like, oh, okay. Also, let's see. Chris Lundgren says Battletech was their first love in miniatures. They also enjoyed Games Workshop's Lord of the Rings, Wings of Glory. Tesco Love also says Wings of Glory has a lot of fun packed into it. Every time I would go and talk to Aries Games at Origins, never fail, I would have people pissed off because there was nothing coming out for Wings of Glory. It was like, one year I didn't ask because I had been told they had nothing to report. So it's like, okay. And then I got a few comments saying, how come you didn't ask about Wings of Glory? It's like, sorry. Kevin R. Smith, flaming here on our third chat moderator hanging with us. John Snyder and Sean O'Donnell are popping on into chat. We got a nice chat rocking and rolling. W. Forge says it was Uncle Albert's catalog that turned Car Wars into an arms race. You know what? I didn't mind that so much. It was when they kept dumping more stuff like, okay, now we've got helicopters and gliders and okay, here now we've got tanks. And it was like, whoa, wait, what? Boats. See, if they had just stuck with like trucks and cars and motorcycles, even the 18-wheeler, that was actually a really cool campaign that they did for the 18-wheeler supplement that came out. So up until that point, I think Car Wars was still easily playable. Yes, it's pretty crunchy. But all in all, up to that point, I think you could still get a game in without having it. It almost was along the lines of, we talked about this before, Starfleet Battles. When Starfleet Battles first came out, it was excellent. And you could play a game with multiple players and finish it up in about 3 hours, which we've discussed back in the day. 3 hours for a game was like, oh, that's no big deal. Right. Now it's like, most people are like, an hour? That game takes an hour? So I find it funny how many publishers will actually show their like game time, and they'll say like 30 to 50 minutes. And it's like, oh, because we don't want to say it takes an hour to play. It's like, okay. All righty then, moving on to our next big announcement today. Modiphius Entertainment revealed that they've got a D-Day campaign release coming for 2020. Whoops. Oh, you know what? I forgot. We've got a little trailer for Path of Glory. It's only like 40 seconds long, but it does share some more artwork. I completely forgot that I had queued that up. So let's take a peek at that. As I said, pretty damn quick video. That's why it slipped my mind that I had it. Anyway, as I started to say, Modiphius Entertainment has revealed they're going to be releasing a D-Day campaign for Achtung Cthulhu 2D20. And I got the skinny. Liberate Europe from the hellish hordes. It is the spring of 1944, and after 5 years of laboring under the yoke of oppression, Europe yearns for liberation. A vast allied army of personnel and machines is assembled on the south coast of Britain, ready to launch the greatest sea and airborne invasion in history. But the forces of the Axis occult, Black Sun and Nachtwolf, are not ready to give up their ill-gotten gains so easily and lurk behind the mighty defenses of the Atlantic Wall, ready to sow terror and confusion to repel the invading allies. The battle to liberate Europe from their occult menace is about to be joined. Inside this combined guide and campaign book, you'll find everything you need to run D-Day missions and campaigns in the thrilling pulp world of Achtung Cthulhu. There's a comprehensive guide which contains both conventional and secret weapons, tools and equipment employed by both sides in the struggle for Normandy, with signature vehicles like Hobart's Funnies and a brand new selection of biotech creatures, including the mighty Leviathan, spawn of the deadly deep ones. Next, take on an epic 3-part 12-episode campaign, which can be played continuously or run as individual missions. Pre-invasion, you'll report for duty in France, on the home front, and in an excursion to the Channel Islands. Down with the Deep Ones is a continuous 4-episode arc that sees your agents journey beneath the waves to join Cthulhu's children in the battle for an alien undersea city. Finally, you'll face The Darkest Day, which is actually the title of this book. 6 loosely linked missions as Nachtwolf deploys all its technological might to thwart the invasion under the helm of Professor Kraft Heimberg. Meanwhile, Black Sun Prior Albrecht Lillman plots to unleash a hellish horde from the Dreamlands to stop the invasion dead in its tracks. This full-color 208-page softcover will feature a complete guide to D-Day with new weapons, vehicles, and creatures, an epic 3-part 12-mission campaign, which can be run continuously or as one-off episodes, a wealth of original art, maps, and handouts, which will bring the huge campaign to life. Can you thwart the combined might of Nachtwolf and Black Sun to ensure Operation Overlord's success? Should also point out, in remembrance, a portion of this book's profits will be donated to D-Day veterans charities. The 208-page softcover with PDF can be pre-ordered right now for $51.22. That might vary, once again, exchange rate. This book is slated to ship in June. And if you do pre-order, you will receive the PDF as soon as it is available. Sweet. Very nice. Very nice. Here's one thing I'm kind of curious as far as Achtung Cthulhu 2D20, as Kevin King is joining us tonight. Welcome, Kevin. Good to see you once again. So my review of the starter set is on the very near horizon. Here's what kind of throws me with Achtung Cthulhu 2D20. What I probably think would be a far better direction for Modiphius Entertainment to go in would be to have the Second World War be historically accurate up to a certain point, and then from that point on, sky's the limit. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do with it, fire away. Because what kind of throws me off is we have all these historical settings or time periods which source books come out for Achtung Cthulhu, and it's sort of like, okay, So the players played through this campaign that's set in 1941, and things are supposed to have changed. But then we get to like 1944. It's like, okay, and now nothing's changed. That's what kind of throws me off a bit with Achtung Cthulhu. And yes, I get it. A lot of people do not like meta plots, which I completely understand, because especially if it's not done very well. Yes, I am looking at you, Dragonlance. Flaming Arrow says, would prefer an alternate history World War II. That's what this is. I mean, we've got the Nachtwolf and we've got Black Sun. We've got forces of the occult and the mythos. So that's about as alternate history as you could possibly get. I'm not saying that you throw the history out. I'm saying you use it like as inspiration for various different operations and things like that. It's just me. Just me. That's it. Like I said, it's just one thing that kind of throws me with Achtung Cthulhu. And I think it makes for a bit tricky as far as like, doing a campaign, doing ongoing campaigns with characters. Now, I'm not saying a campaign from one book. I'm saying tying books together like you would see with Call of Cthulhu. I mean, you could conceivably run tons and tons of Call of Cthulhu adventures with the same investigators and their replacements over time. I don't see that with Achtung Cthulhu 2D20. Although I do think it's cool. I do like it. You'll see that I do like the starter set. It's kind of weird. Just kind of weird. Sean O'Donnell says, hey, Hellboy went a ways down that road. Kevin R. Smith says, funny thing is, they're sure the Achtung Cthulhu core book has a set timeline for the advancement of Nazi ties to the mythos throughout the war. Yeah. So, wouldn't be the first time that something that was in a core rule book was just superseded by something else. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird to see later war books come out for Achtung Cthulhu 2D20, and they kind of pick up as if the war has just been going its historical course up to that point. I don't know. I'm just saying. Like I said, it's just something that kind of throws me off a little bit. And to be honest, I think it probably works against the setting itself as far as maybe more people would get on board with it if it was more, freewheeling, I guess we'll say. All right, on to our last news piece of the evening. Raging Swan Press has released GM's Miscellany Wilderness Dressing for 2024. It is in print and PDF, and I've got the dope. A system-neutral GM's resource. Tired of glossing over the details of your player character's overland journey, except for the inevitable, violent, random encounters? Want to add in minor features of interest to their journeys? Want to make their journeys seem more real? Then GM's Miscellany Wilderness Dressing is for you. A compilation of the Wilderness Dressing line. Each installment focuses on a different type of wilderness or a feature therein and gives the hairy GM the tools to bring such features to life with interesting and cool, noteworthy features. GM's Miscellany Wilderness Dressing presents loads of great features and details to enliven your player character's travel both overland and by sea. Designed to be used both during preparation and actual play, Wilderness Dressing is an invaluable addition to any game master's armory. This presents material original appearing in Badlands, Bandits, Castles, Caves and Caverns, Deserts, Extreme Weather, Hills, Isles and Islands, Jungles, Ruins, Moorland, Mountains, Ocean Voyages, Plains, Primal Forest, savanna, snow and ice, steppes, swamps, travelers, tundra, woodlands, and let's not forget, underwater. The 192-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $31.95. It is available at Drive-Thru RPG. You can grab just the PDF if you'd like that instead for $21.45. This also comes in 2 additional flavors, 5e Dungeons & Dragons and OSR. So there are 3 separate volumes available. All has the same information, just statted differently. Well, the one I'm talking about is completely system agnostic. Very nice. Very cool. I have always heard good things about the releases from Raging Swan Press, and this is updated for 2024 as far as my understanding is. All righty. Kevin King says they had one Call of Cthulhu player whose character survives an entire campaign mainly by being spineless and morally compromised. Nice. Very nice. Chris Lundgren says they wish more games focused around the World War I era. Sean O'Donnell says running Abomination Vaults, which is entirely focused around one dungeon and its neighboring town, but the players keep threatening to leave the town if I don't behave. Just throw some stuff in their way that they don't like. They'll turn around. So that is the news for this evening. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus Dispatch, is affiliated with Drive-Thru RPG and the other One Bookshelf sites. So if you are planning on visiting, say, Drive-Thru RPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, what have you, by all means, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do go a long way to help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on by paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Good. And no, it's not Campbell's soup. And I do have to mention that the Madman, Joshua Edwards, and Agile Monk all recently stopped by paypal.me/thegaminggang and made not small donations. So big thank you to them, and thanks to everybody out there who utilizes the banner ads and or stops by paypal.me/thegaminggang. Much appreciated. So we are going to talk about some role-playing games that I feel are really perfectly in tune for a couple of players, because we know that is not the case with the vast majority of role-playing games out there. So that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Did want to mention, I talked about this last week, did go see my cardiologist yesterday. And funny enough, of course, before I go, a couple of days prior to that, my blood pressure just kind of went back to normal when I was checking it. I was like, what the? And then it wasn't tightness. It's almost like I have a bruise here if I take a deep breath in. And I had mentioned that one of my cats, Lala, had been sleeping on my chest. And I woke up, and because I had the open heart surgery, I try not to have any pressure here, because of course they had to take this off, right? They put it back in and they wired it up so it would heal. And yes, it's been a few years now, but still, I'm kind of paranoid about that, right? So anyway, I got an EKG. Nothing looked too out of sorts there. So we're just going to keep an eye, just see what's going on. But it was really weird sitting there at the cardiologist's office, and the nurse took my blood pressure, and it was like 140 over 91 or something like that. And then later on, the cardiologist, this is, 10, 15 minutes later, the cardiologist takes it, and it was 120 over 78. Nothing changed. I'm just sitting there. It's like, although I gotta mention, whenever I go to the doctor, my blood pressure is always higher than normal. It doesn't matter if I'm just going for a checkup. Doesn't matter. I'm just like always a little paranoid. So, anywho, so knock on wood. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Well, we've said it time and time again. None of us gets out of this alive anyway. So, and Tessie Trekkie is, did I say hello to Tessie Trekkie earlier? I thought I did. Maybe not. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Well, hopefully I've said hello to everybody who's hanging out in chat tonight. All right. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk about some role-playing games that are perfect for one-on-one gaming sessions. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Refreshment. Refreshment. For your enjoyment, there's hot, fresh popcorn, tempting, delicious hot dogs, and so many kinds of ice cream. And, of course, sparkling, delicious, ice-cold Coca-Cola for everybody at the refreshment counter now. Remember, your favorite snack will taste especially good with world-famous ice-cold Coca-Cola.
Somebody saw the shot, and she's got a cold drink for you. Canada Dry Ginger Ale. One gulp is for thirst, the other gulps are for kicks. Come in on a wave and end up at a party. It's going to be a good evening. Canada Dry Ginger Ale. One gulp is for thirst, the other gulps are for kicks.
So the next morning, Tony ran...
You read all of Tony Gets a Pony and you're ready for a drink. Canada Dry Ginger Ale. So good it hurts. Fresh, wet, and moonlit. A girl and a Canada Dry. And across a crowded boat you hear ice cracking and wisecracking, and you know it's going to last till dawn. Canada Dry Ginger Ale. One gulp is for thirst, the other gulps are for kicks.
Coffee break. Want a cup of Wilkins? Oh.
Oh, the time is now, the time is here. Now's the time for a bite of cheer. A tasty delight where the price is right. Well, look at here, you'll dig this sight. The moment's handy for a piece of candy. Just name your brand, they're all so grand. Hey, what do you think of a nice cool drink? Or a big box filled with a popcorn thrill? Let your taste buds meet with an ice cream treat. Refresh yourselves, it's time to eat. So come on, folks, let's join the band as we all head for the refreshment stand.
Sure is great being on a drive-in watching Super Flick and eating all this great food.
This flick is making me hungry.
It makes me want to flick my bick.
We should have gone to the drive-in where we could eat and flick to our heart's content.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Well, come on then. I'm going to have a pizza and popcorn and ice cream.
And I'm gonna have a burger with fries and a soft drink.
Yum, yum, yum.
This was a great idea.
Yeah.
The jackpot question, what's the finest coffee?
Well, you told me to say Wilkins.
Another quiz show bites the dust.
Hey, you want to play?
What can you do?
I'm a funny face drink. I make funny faces.
Oh, neat.
Watch this. We're free sweetened, so no sugar mess. And I make a great drink.
Hey, make me a funny face drink.
Okay, you're a funny face drink.
With Pillsbury's funny face, there's a laugh in every glass.
He's trembling with fear. Needs a house, but afraid he'll get in over his head financially. Now, FHA has a free guide that tells how to finance a home wisely. Write to Home Financing, Federal Housing Administration, Washington, D.C.
I'll write for 2 copies.
I'm running away from home. My parents are mean. Where'll you go? I'm not sure, but I'll show them.
That's right. You'll show them how mean you can be.
Shipwreck!
Isn't it better to try to solve problems instead of running away from them?
I could try talking to my parents again.
Yeah, tell them how you feel. And remember, running away
leads nowhere. Now I know. And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
All right, little strange. Sailor's talking to those 2 kids. This lady's like standing there like, hello, children. And yes, I had last Thursday's intermission start off, and I was like, God damn it. And because I have all of these intermissions in a folder. And I was like, wait a second, what the hell's the name of this one today? It's like, where is that? Searching for it. I'm like, what the? So we got to the Wilkins coffee commercial. When I finally found it, it's like, that's it. That's the one. Tessie Trekkie says, hello, sailor. W. Forge asks, was that a quiz show reference? It was. It was actually a reference to the quiz show. Oh, I don't know. What will we consider that to be? Controversy? Yeah, I think it was controversies. Because there were multiple quiz shows that were accused of doing different things. But yes, the Robert Redford directed quiz show starring Ray Fiennes. Good movie. That's a very good movie. Not a movie that really had much longevity, though. Chris asks, how long does it take to make the video for the commercials? All depends. It depends. Sometimes I'll go looking around for something in particular. There you go. Tony Urquidy says, Scandal. Yeah, that's good. I like that one. The $64,000 question mentions Omenal. Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us in chat. Yes. Just like the other actor, I can't even remember his name, that was in Quiz Show, who plays the investigator, was a pretty popular actor at the time, and then he just kind of disappeared. It's like, oh, okay. Although, if I remember right, I think he's sitting there trying to put on like a Boston accent in a Quiz Show, and he just doesn't really pull it off. W4 says John Turturro. No, not John Turturro. John Turturro's still around. I can't remember this guy's name. There you go. Rob Morrow. Thank you, W4. Yes, that's who I'm talking about. Tony Urquidy says, yeah, Turturro was the other contestant. Right. The one who should have won, but for various different reasons, the network didn't want him to win. Network and producers, I should say. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about role-playing games that I feel make for exceptionally good choices if you are aiming at running one-on-one role-playing sessions. And it's important for me to point out, I'm talking about ongoing sessions, right? So ongoing campaigns, ongoing stories. I'm not talking about just one-shot, two-player storytelling games, because there are loads of those out there. So what I'm looking to focus on are real role-playing games or role-playing adjacent, because there is one game I am going to talk about that I don't know if I would really call specifically a role-playing game, as opposed to more like a dungeon delving simulator or something along those lines. But the first game I want to talk about is from, well, it's actually two games. They're both designed by Sean Tompkin, and I'm talking about Iron Sworn and Iron Sworn Starforged. I have heard people talk about both of these a lot and how they are excellent for both just one game master, one player, as well as cooperative game master-less play as well. Now, Iron Sworn is absolutely free. So Tessie Trey says, one-on-one role-playing, Jeff, how risque. Well, that's another thing. I had stayed away from like games that have like romantic kind of themes and things like that, because not everybody who's looking to run a role-playing game or play a role-playing game, but there's only two of you around, have romantic inclinations to each other. So Shanbot V42 is popping on in. So anyway, so I've heard really good things about both Iron Sworn and Iron Sworn Starforged. Iron Sworn is the fantasy. There's also Iron Sworn Delve, which is an expansion to Iron Sworn. Iron Sworn is absolutely free. So you can get that in PDF absolutely free. Whereas if you want to get Starforged, which is science fiction in nature, and I've actually heard is better than Iron Sworn because it came later and there are some tweaks and changes to the system. So I did hear that it's a lot easier to play or a lot easier to get into. That is not available for free. It is available in PDF. All of these that I'm going to talk about are available in print and PDF as far as I know. But you can get this PDF for $20. And I have not checked out Iron Sworn or Iron Sworn Starforged. I have shared news pieces about them. Flaming Heron points out Iron Sworn Starforged is excellent. And they also backed the latest Kickstarter. W. Forge says James Bond role-playing game is the only game they ever played one-on-one. So have I. Interestingly enough, I actually got to play it and run it. So I got to play Goldfinger. Elliot ran that. And it was one-on-one. Unfortunately, the James Bond role-playing game is no longer available. It's not in print. I know there's been discussion of kind of an homage to it that is available in PDF. I have not had an opportunity to take a peek at it. Otherwise, that would have been on the list for sure because it is excellent. It really, really is. So there are also a couple of games from Pelgrane Press. One of them is specifically designed for one-on-one gameplay, and the other is solitaire, but can easily be converted into a one-on-one sort of game. And first of all, I'm talking about Cthulhu Confidential. And as I mentioned, this is specifically designed for one-on-one gameplay. There's a focus on 3 different eras and areas of the Cthulhu mythos, and it uses a modified version of the Gumshoe system, and it is known as Gumshoe 1-1. Should also mention Cthulhu Confidential is written by Chris Spivey. He's one of the authors. You know, I really, really dig Chris Spivey's work. I've also heard good things about Night's Black Agents Solo Ops. So it is an ongoing campaign with a single character. And if you're not familiar with Night's Black Agents, it is an espionage role-playing game where you're fighting vampires. So both of these are horror games. And as I mentioned, Night's Black Agents Solo Ops is a solitaire game, but you can easily convert it to one-on-one gameplay or two players without a game master, as far as I understand. So should point that out. Now, as far as these being available in PDF, if I remember correctly, I think Cthulhu Confidential is $29.95 in PDF. I'm not sure if you need to have Night's Black Agents core rulebook to use Solo Ops. I think you do. So it's something that you want to keep in mind. Tony Ortiz says they actually have a copy on their shelf right now. I believe they're talking about James Bond. Got it from a used bookstore when they were a teenager, never played it, seemed pretty crunchy. Maybe one day. Flaming Heron points out there's plenty of solo games you can switch them up for one-on-one with a bit of tweaking. Yes, most definitely. The reality is, just about any role-playing game can be tweaked for one-on-one play. There's no doubt about that. I think what really kind of makes something one-on-one is the adventures. So as an example, there are a lot of Call of Cthulhu adventures that have been released over the decades that I could easily see tweaking with actual minimal tweaks to make it a one-on-one game. Easily. I think Call of Cthulhu really does lend itself very nicely to that. Funny enough, as far as I understand, I have never actually seen solitaire rules come out for Call of Cthulhu. That I'm kind of surprised by. Because I would think that would be something that people would jump on. Now, of course, Call of Cthulhu does have solitaire adventures. They are designed more along the lines of the create your own adventure, where it's, okay, here's your decision, or here's, did you win this fight? Did you fail this fight? Did you make this roll? Did you fail this roll? Go look at this. Go look at that. Go look at entry 412. Go look at entry 7. So those kind of things. Flaming Aaron said they played a GURPS game one-on-one, but that was just an introduction to teach someone the rules. Well, that doesn't count. Flaming Heron's like, GURPS is designed to be played one-on-one. Now, I know that's not what he's saying, but still. Now, keep in mind, these are role-playing games that I have no experience with for the most part. I am going to share some that I am pretty familiar with in just a little bit. So next up, you're going to find that many of these one-on-one role-playing games or co-op two-player role-playing games tend to fall into the fantasy genre more than anything else. I think horror kind of comes up with, probably comes up in second place. Zetro is with us in chat. They said they think Chaosium did solo Call of Cthulhu scenarios during COVID. Well, anything that's alone against, anything that's in the title, it says alone against, is a solitaire adventure. So like alone against the dark, alone against, what is it? There's, I think 3 or 4. Alone Against the Static recently came out, and Sammy reviewed that. That actually came out in hardcover. It's the first time that we saw one of the solitaire adventures for Call of Cthulhu come out in hardcover. But once again, we are talking about one-on-one or 2-player co-op role-playing games. We're not talking about solitaire, because most of the solitaire role-playing games can easily be converted for 2 players as well. So Mythic jumps immediately to mind, which is another fantasy role-playing game that is specifically designed for game masterless play. But something else which I have heard really good things about, and it was already mentioned in chat, is Scarlet Heroes from Kevin Crawford of Stars Without Number, Cities Without Number, Worlds Without Number fame, and Sign Nominate Publishing. From my understanding, this is designed specifically for one-on-one. So you got a game master, you've got a player, and it has a real old school Renaissance feel to the proceedings. And I do know there are a few adventures that are out there for this. And I also have an understanding that this can really be utilized fairly easily with old Dungeons and Dragons and advanced Dungeons and Dragons modules too. So like first edition, second edition, AD&D, basic expert, and so forth. I'm not overly familiar with this, but like I said, I have heard really good things about Scarlet Heroes. And I think it was Kevin R. Smith that mentioned this in chat. So I wonder if Kevin might be able to share a little more info about this. Now, if there are role-playing games out there that you have personal experience with that are really aimed at one-on-one gameplay. So I'm not talking about, oh, well, 5e. 5e isn't designed really for one-on-one. You can tweak it, of course. But if there are games out there which are kind of 2-player co-op role-playing games or one-on-one role-playing games that are designed for ongoing play, by all means, let me know in the comments section. Reason why I'm not saying do it in chat is because a lot of times people don't see the chat. That's why a lot of times I'll read stuff that people write in chat, because many times people watching these videos don't see the chat at all. They don't even really have an option of seeing the chat. So Kevin R. Smith says, yep, it's both a rule set and a rules overlay, as Crawford calls it, that can adjust other old school and OSR rules for solo play. Scarlet Heroes can also be used with 2 to 3 player character parties too, allowing you to throw hordes of monsters at small parties. Yeah, because I think, as far as I understand, the player characters are a bit more heroic. They aren't necessarily first, second level kind of characters. That's something to keep in mind. But yes, I would actually be very interested in taking a peek at Scarlet Heroes. One of these days, I have got to bite the bullet and go buy myself a copy of Worlds Without Number or Stars Without Number, because I have always heard, well, even Cities Without Number, I've heard really good things about too. Bjorn's with us in chat, as is Jack Hanks. Bjorn says they've only played a little bit of Scarlet Heroes solo and said it's really interesting. Sweet, very nice. Something else which has caught my eye, which I've heard loads of people talk about, and there are literally dozens of supplements for, is 4 Against Darkness from Ganesha Games. This can easily be played cooperative as well as simply solitaire. I think originally this is designed as a solitaire game. So it is a dungeon delving game. And as far as I understand, once again, this is something that I have not had an opportunity to take a peek at. If I remember right, I think Sammy did a review of the core game, of the core book, or a contributor at some point in time has shared a review of the core book. Like I said, I think it was Sammy. I think Sammy did that. And like I said, there are, no joke, literally dozens of supplements that have come out, and some of them include new genres. Some of them are kind of like campaigns. As far as I understand, I have not had an opportunity to check this out. I'll be the first to admit, I'm not necessarily a big solitaire role-playing game fan. I guess it's probably because of me running games so much. Maybe that's it. And I think in some ways, I figure, well, if I'm going to play a solitaire role-playing game, why don't I just boot up like Baldur's Gate 3 or any number of the various different Larian or Owlcat games or what have you, role-playing games, and play that. In fact, funny enough, I just started playing around with 40K Rogue Trader from Owlcat. I think my characters are up to 11th level. I think they go up to like level 55 or something. Pretty interesting. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool. Way different than Baldur's Gate, of course, but I'm enjoying it. I'm getting a kick out of it. Anyway, so For Against Darkness, like I said, I don't have any experience with this, but if anybody in chat or if you're watching on Memorex after the fact, if you want to share your experiences with this, by all means, please do. As I mentioned, I've heard it's pretty popular, and I've heard good things about it as well. Flaming Aaron says, solitaire games just means fighting fantasy, choose your own adventure to me. Or what we tend to see in a lot of solitaire role-playing games is loads of tables. Loads and loads of tables that you're rolling on. Like, for an example, I think in For Against Darkness, you roll dice and it'll show you what is the layout, the dimensions of the next room in the dungeon. But once again, I think this has actually moved beyond just dungeon delving with some of these other expansions. Like I said, this looks really interesting. Always heard really good things about it as well. So let's see. Just catching up a little bit with chat. Flaming Heron says, only good thing with solitaire is the ability to come to grasp with the rules. Yeah, you don't have to feel bad about flipping through a book to find them. W. Forge says, Tunnels and Trolls had a bunch of solo adventures. Not sure how it'd play as a two-player game. Well, now what we're going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about some role-playing games that I actually have experience with, that I have access to, which I think work very nicely as one-on-one or two-player cooperative games. And yes, first out the gate is Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls. And W. Forge is right on the money. There are loads and loads and loads of solitaire adventures for Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls. Regardless. Why this is considered to be deluxe, I just think it's because it was a nice, sturdy hardcover edition that had some tweaks to it. I want to say this is the 2015 edition of Tunnels and Trolls, which would be the most recent edition of Tunnels and Trolls. But you can utilize any of the solitaire adventures that have been released over the years. I think there's around 25 or so, but they do fall into the category of the choose your own adventure-ish, as far as I understand. I have not, of course, seen every single solitaire adventure for Tunnels and Trolls, but they fall into that category. But there is also gameplay in here. You're rolling dice. You're using the regular rules to Tunnels and Trolls. It's not simply like choose your own adventure. Most of those books, they either did not have any sort of like rule mechanics that you were utilizing. You weren't rolling dice or anything like that. Or they had some really, really basic stuff where maybe you had 3 attributes and you had a 6-sided die and you had to roll under that attribute or what have you. Usually you're just rolling a 6-sided die for stuff. If you're even rolling dice, that's not the case with Tunnels and Trolls Solitaire Adventures. Flaming Aaron said they played Tunnels and Trolls one-on-one once. That's cool. I have not. And I say it all the time. I like Tunnels and Trolls. I think for a game that came out in 78-ish, it still feels pretty modern because it doesn't fall into the whole retro clone of D&D. It is really its own thing. I think where there might be an issue is with higher level play when you're supposed to be rolling like 50 dice. It's like, okay, you're going to roll 50 6-sided dice. All right. Got my bucket. And yes, there are rules that tweak that so you're not actually rolling 50 dice. But still, you could. Zetro says, choose your own adventure games are almost always glorified flow charts. And not much ever really happens. I have to say, one of my favorite solitaire board games ever. And I think you can still get this digitally free. It was called Barbarian Prince. And it was kind of a hex crawl. And you're supposed to be the prince. The king has been overthrown. There's been a coup and you're basically dumped. They think they've killed you. And you only have a certain number of days to form an army of enough, soldiers and stuff like that, and return to the kingdom to overthrow the usurper. And it was not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. Now, it's not a role-playing game or anything like that. But I had a lot of fun with it. It was pretty cool. And it was, kind of choose your own adventure thing. But you did have gameplay mechanics to it as well. Anyway, so that is something to keep your eyes peeled for. Tunnels and Trolls. And I would think, and I have heard, that the solitaire adventures are very easily converted into one-on-one or to 2-player co-op. Something else that is also designed as solitaire, but there are rules for cooperative play, is Star Trek Captain's Log. Now, this is the Next Generation edition. They're all the same. The contents inside are all the same. Their covers are just a little bit different. And this is actually really cool. And lots of tables. Got to point out, I don't think I actually did my review of this. I know I did a first look video of it. And there's a lot going on. And it's kind of cool because you also create your important crew members. You create your ship. There's a lot going on with this. And there are rules in here for cooperative play. So GM-less play for 2 players where you've got 2 major characters. And then, of course, your starship crew, different missions, things like that. So this is definitely worth a peek as well. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, I already mentioned some of the solitaire games out there, they just don't jump out at me. I have nothing against them. It's just, like I said, if I'm going to play a solitaire role-playing game, I'll just boot up the old PC or the laptop, what have you, and play. This is something that really piques my interest into actually sitting down and playing a few sessions of. This is also great for ongoing gameplay because you'll have a campaign with your captain, your crew members, your ship, and you can embark on your 5-year mission if you want. So pretty cool, pretty nice. Rogue Thinker is with us in chat. Welcome aboard. Chris Lundgren says, give me a solo game, the solo game Adventure for the Atari 2600. Oh my gosh, that green square is a goblin. Two more games to go. And they're both from Free League Publishing. And I actually had a news piece about one of them on today's show. But the first thing I'll talk about, the One Ring second edition. So mechanically, it's pretty rules light as far as gameplay goes. And there are the Strider rules, which are available. Oh, I should point out, Tunnels and Trolls is available in PDF for $19.95. And Star Trek Captain's Log is available in PDF for $18. As far as, it's Modiphius, so there is no MSRP on the back. Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls you could probably get through Amazon or eBay. Flying Buffalo Games is in major flux, although they have updated their website. So that is one thing. But they were sold to some individuals there. So not sure about being able to get yourself a copy of the physical book. Anyway, the One Ring second edition, I like it quite a bit. I think this lends itself very nicely to cooperative gameplay. Now, granted, the Strider rules are solitaire play, but they can be tweaked for cooperative 2 players. So that is easily taken care of with this. And pretty nice. Do want to point out, it sounds like the sirens for tornado warning is going off outside. So I am going to pause for a moment here. I'm going to run up, see what's going on. But yeah, I hear the sirens going off. This is pretty weird during the live show. So enjoy yourselves looking at, I'm almost ready to wrap up the show. I only have one thing left to tackle. You know what? I'll do that. I'll do that because I heard it turn off. All right, last thing I'm going to talk about real quick, Dragonbane. So there are rules for solitaire and cooperative play here for Dragonbane. Everybody's like, hey, Jeff, stay safe, shelter. I'm here in the Duct Tape Studios. This is where I would go if a tornado came. Maven Pine Tree is with us in chat. Anyway, this is the other game I was going to wrap up with. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to wrap up the show a few minutes earlier, just so I can see what's going on. Anyway, if you happen to like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as my recent review of, what the heck was it I just shared? It's like, a second. Just shared a review. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I've got an upcoming review of Doctors and Daleks. So we're going to celebrate the new Doctor with my review of Doctors and Daleks. So stay tuned for that. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow, and hopefully. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and as always, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.